Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes, I can hear you now, Mr. Wang.
I can hear you now. It's okay. How are you,
Thank
Hoàng?
you. It's all good.
Hoàng ơi, em có nghe chị không?
Em đây.
Rồi, trời ơi, lúc nào mạng
Có.
cũng có vấn đề hết trơn á. Đang ngồi ở quán cà phê nào vậy?
Em đang ngồi cà phê nhưng mà
Em
hình
ăn
như
bị
chỗ này
kém.
Chị biết rồi, thấy bạn kém là em biết em ngồi quán cà phê tội nghiệp quá.
à, Laura, can you hear me?
Yes, I
Everyone
can.
just let
Loud
me
and
know
clear.
if your connection is good. Okay.
Ừ,
Okay,
ok.
so to save our time, I'm just skim over all the topics real quick. Okay. So for
Ừ,
today's presentation, I'm going to talk about how we mitigate the risk in a corporate terms, and also how we do budgeting in a corporate. So why is it important in a business? Because um, whenever we have the risks in the business, we know what type of category we need to invest in. In other words, um, we need to confirm that our budgeting and our purchase are falling into the right place for business, right? So um,
Mm-hmm.
I when I talk about our four flows of finance in our last class, I talked about the way that we're classifying our financial flows into four categories. First of all, it is about the operating profit, and then it's all about working capital, capital expenditure, and financing. Um, if you can recall, the first cash flow is about the profit and loss and the operating profit. Second is working capital, the same name. Other is capital purchase, and then we have our equity contribution and also the loan from the financial entities. So these are the four financial flows of a business. So I'm just following that type of classification for a business activity to talk about the risks and also budgeting. So in our previous class, we talked about like different types of business. So when we talk about priorities in risk management and also budgeting, we also have our own classification for what type of business are falling into what type of new risks and also budget. Um, in four categories that you're seeing on the screen for now. Um, when we talk about big corporation, it's all about how they strengthen their business activity, and that's why their budgeting process is even very complicated and also very well structured. Um, and they don't need to buy more of the working capital and also for the machines or factories. Level in our story, when we have a business, when we already have a very strong business, we already have all of the factories, all of the machines around in the building, and you don't need to buy any more of the machines. And what you need to do is after I purchase all a very great amount of money to invest in buying the machines and factories, we need to operate well enough. So that's why we need to focus on budgeting and how we bu- how we could proceed to our budgeting activity. It is all about how we map out our sales plan, and also we map out how well structured our operating expenses need to be um, need to be formed in the short term. So um, for our key ideas in our case is that for big corporations, all risk management, working capital, and business operation, because we already have our machines and factories around. But for startup business, our risk management fall greater into our capital structure and financing. Let's just say in our startup context, when we have a startup business, we always need to buy machines.
You understand, Miss Lara?
Yes,
If we
I
don't
can.
have a machine,
Yeah.
manager, we cannot have employees or something. Sorry, did you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, do you need to raise any questions in this point?
Not really a question. I just want to summarize. And please correct me if I'm wrong. According to, based on my understanding, big corporation, the risk there is, hold on. Let me try to organize my thoughts. Okay. So for big corporation, they focus on strengthening their business capacity. So the risk there is how they're going to,
Concentrate the business operation on working capital.
so they're working on, they're just focusing on the operation,
Yes.
but they don't focus on the what is, I mean, what is the difference between working capital and capital structure?
Okay.
So big corp is, they're focusing on the operation and the working capital, but for a small corporation, the risk falls in the, as what I see, their capital structure or financing.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the difference between working capital and capital
Capital
structure?
structure. Hoàng, can you explain? Working capital just you for
Working
the.
capital. I'm
Mm.
gonna fall in. I'm gonna show you around for each of the
Mhm.
category, but
Hoàng ơi, have you have the some of the problem in the connection?
uh,
Okay.
um,
Lara.
I'll give you
Yes,
the
yes.
snapshot of the definition of that. So working capital definition.
Okay. Okay.
How could I cover that? My the last of my Wi-Fi,
Wi-Fi
my
have your
personal Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi not good.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time to.
Yes. So working capital, the same of living assets and living payable. Do you remember the final position I told you before, Miss
Mhm.
Lara?
Yeah,
You
yes.
you remember the final position, the private final position?
Yes, yes.
Yes. They have the assets and they have the liability, and the short term assets are also called the living assets
Mhm.
and liability, short-term liability or living liability. Just on on of that, on of this econ working capital. Is okay.
Can you give an example?
For
I
example,
think like for giving a short explanation for that
yeah,
is
yes, yes, here.
working capital is just like your daily expense
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm,
also like how you cover all of your short-term demand for operation from a business perspective.
I
So
see.
so when you can see it on the map over here, so we have account receivables, account payable, cash, inventory. So inventory is your stock, right? Of the remainings on your stock. It is the three categories here can be converted into cash. So inventory, let's just say we have an example because maybe I'm a bookseller. I have a lot of books in our stock. So in our short and a small business, we have account receivables, which is when I sell the books, I also receive the money from our customers. So that is accounts receivables. account payables are different terms. I buy the book from other vendors and have the books in our stock. So um, perhaps I don't have to pay that instantly. Or also I have a very good business network. So I just only need to pay that in 3 months. So let's just say that is March. No, no, sorry. That is April for now. And I bought like around 10 books. And I told to my vendors that I'm going to pay you these 10 books in 2 months, meaning I'm paying you in June. But when I sell that to our customer, these 10 books, I'm going to get instant payment from the customers right in April. So right now I have a very huge amount of cash from the purchase of, sorry, from the selling of these 10 books. And now our inventory are zero because I already sold all of my books. So these are how working capitals work. All clear?
I got it. Yes, thank you so much.
So when we talk about working capitals, we have very basic principles of that. We have days of sales outstanding, days of payment outstanding, and inventories outstanding. So when we back to our example, a bookseller, so our business is just like this. I have 10 books after I purchase that from someone else. So when I buy 10 books from my customers and I say to him, like, I'm going to pay you in 2 months. So our days of sales are date of payments outstanding is 60 days, meaning 2 months. And
Hmm.
I only need to pay him in June. But when it sells that these 10 books, in this case, I'm not selling 10 books anymore. I'm telling you, I'm selling 5 books. So when I sell 5 books, so I get instant payment from my customers, or I just say my customer are going to pay me in 1 week, meaning I'm gonna get the money in April. So I'm gonna get the sales from 5 books. And now this sales of 5 books, I'm going to get the cash from the sales for 5 books over here. So meaning my days of sales outstanding is going to be 7 days compared to 2 months for my payment outstanding. And last of all, when I have our inventory outstanding because I already bought 10 books and I sold 5 books. So I only have 5 books in our inventory. So our inventory are compared to cash equivalent amount of money. So that's why we are having like this cycle for working capital because the definition of that after our story is that after a business, I'm going to have a certain amount of cash, which is available for me to make another purchase on another activities. So that is the most basic principles of working capital. Um, are you clear about that?
Yeah, yes, it's clear. Thank you.
All right. So because our topic covers not only about the budgeting but also the risks. So when we talk about working capital, I don't want to skip too far from our initial topic, but for working capitals, we always underline the risks, also um, the budgeting needs for that. So the risks that goes along with the working capital is that sometimes our payables will exceed the receivables, meaning, for example, in this month, I need to pay around 10,000 US dollar because I already called and discussed with my fabricators who sold the books to me. And since they say I need instant payment for the books, so now I need to pay that instantly. But my customer said, um, I can't pay you for now, but I confirm that I'm going to pay you in 1 month. So for now, I don't have enough cash in our pocket. So I need to pay the whole amount of money for these 10 books, but I cannot get the money from our customers when they buy the book. I just can't receive that in just 1 month. So for now, we're lacking of fund and cash to cover our activity. So that is the risk for working capital when we don't have enough cash at hand to handle the payment. So that's why payables or exceeding receivable is very how to say unfavorable condition for us when we are running a business.
Mm-hmm.
Is that clear for you?
Yes, yes, it's clear.
Clear.
All right.
Okay.
So, sorry for just skipping our topic. I just want to get into our initial slide when we talk about risk management and also budgeting. We need to care on four categories. So, as I mentioned, we care about operating profit, working capital, capital expenditure, and financing.
Mm.
So I remember Laura asking, what is the difference between working capital and also capital expenditure? So working capital is a day-to-day um, business business activities for money, short-term money to cover day-to-day operation. But capital expenditure is all about like fixed asset, which is
Mm.
a very big investment on the land, furniture, buildings, equipment, and vehicles. These are very big investments and also have a very long time uh, of life cycle or something like that. So the most basic difference between capital expenditure and working capital is the life cycle. So the life cycle for working capital is so short in a way that it can be changing day to day. But for capital expenditure, their value and their life cycle is even longer, and also their value is even higher or even lower after time. Let's just say our most basic example is land. So for lands, the pricing of the land would be very higher in 10 years compared to what we're having for now, right? So the pricing of the lands are always hiking and gets even higher day to day. And after 1 year, I think like the value of the land will be big, much bigger than what we're having for now. But when we're talking about furniture, let's just say our chair, table, something, in 1 or 2 years, their values would be much less than what we're having for now. So that's why I'm telling like capital expenditure are a very different principle compared to working capitals because of the two key criteria. First of all, the value of that, and then it is the initial investment and life cycle. So these are very basic things bear in our mind before we consider about that. Um, so when it comes to working capitals and capital expenditure and financing, um, the financing activities means in this context is we find the investment from the banks or also equity contribution to cover all of these three categories in a way that it can confirm our business are in good conditions. Back to our initial slide, when we talk about risk management, so a big corporation always focus on business operation and working capital because we already have our machines at hand. So when you already have your machines, let's just say we're running a coffee shop. So you already have your machines at hand, your tables, your facilities, and also your shops. And what you're trying to do for a coffee shop is that you really need to cost down your operating cost. So that's why capital is always very critical in our business. When we're running a business for a long term and we already have our network and market. But sorry, when you're running a startup just like this, because we don't have anything at hand, so we need to buy more machines we're not starting a coffee shop yet, so we need to buy more machines, more tables, and also windows and layouts for everything. So we bear we bear the risks of buying initial costs for capital structure and also finding the other resources from the bank or other equities to run our business. So the risk here is that if I buy a lot of machines or I invite all so many investors into our business, while we're not sure if our business are profiting in the first or 2 years, so how good our business operation should be in the next 2 years? Are we profiting or do we need to find other actions to cover our operations? So these are very, very complex principle in finance before we can start considering about running a business. And we need to start thinking about our business position. Are we a startup or a big corporation? And in that case, what should be our categories to think of when we talk about risk management? So that's what I'm talking about when we consider in every context about finance, when it comes to business terms, a very critical point is what is our current situation about business. Um, yeah, all clear?
Yeah, so far it's clear.
All right, hopefully. Um, I'm sorry because my presentation for today is a little bit broken down because some of the questions are like a little bit far further from our first slide. So um, to wrap up what we're talking about from the start of our lesson of our class for now, I just put in the working capital definition. What are the risks going along with that, and also the capital expenditure. The last of the thing I'm going to talk about the first cash flow about operating profit. What are the risks going along with that, and what our big corporation also startup are doing with the operating profit. So in order to um, kind of to control and manipulate the operating activities, many businesses are breaking that down into revenues and also expenses. And in expenses, they classify that, cluster that down to cost of goods sold and also the cost for selling, general administration costs. So these are the very basic costs for running a business, especially when you are running a manufacturing business. Let's just say when you're running a coffee shop, the COGS is like the cost of goods sold, what you need to buy the cafe, powder, sugar, and also other uh, bottled waters and cups and teas and human staffing was always like a very basic and day-to-day expenses to run a business. So about sales and general administration costs, it is all about the marketing costs, shipment, logistics, and also um, e-commerce or something like that. So um, in a general perspective of that, when we're running a business, we need to consider what are our cost of goods sold and also our selling and general administration costs, in order that it cannot be exceeding our sales volume. So when a big corporation or a startup think about how they map out their strategy for a business plan, at first they're going to focus on their revenue. Um, so the revenue is very critical in the way that you control and manipulate these two costs. And if these two costs are exceeding our sales expense, our sales volume, we're not on a profit in the end of the month. So That is one potential risk going along with the business. Another risk is that when we categorize our costs, we classify that into fixed costs and also variable costs. So that's why when I'm giving you a snapshot of a business over here, um, in this type of business, they're earning 10% of the operating profit. In that situation, their fixed cost is around 12,000, um, and their variable costs are tripling the fixed cost. So there are underlying risks for that because when you're running a business with a very big fixed cost compared to a variable cost, so when your revenues are down, so all of the um, all of the fixed costs will be exceeding our sales volume. In that case, we cannot run a business because our fixed costs are in every month are always higher than our sales volume. If we are not having a very good strategy for a sales plan, so our fixed costs will always be superseding, and we're not always profiting in the end of the year. So that's why our we have a contribution margin ratio over here, meaning the fixed cost over variable cost. So a desirable cost for that is that our fixed cost always would need to be always higher than our variable cost. And in that way, we can have a tighter control over our expenses.
You understand, Lara?
It is a little bit
Just
technical.
You take
yes, yes, actually, that's right.
yes,
Did you say that the fixed cost should be much higher than the variable cost? And if that's so, it means the company is profiting?
The fixed costs
Should not be higher than
higher,
variable
should
cost.
not be higher than the variable cost
Okay.
because, yeah, because let's just say, just do a quick math. If you're earning like 500 US dollar per month and your fixed cost is gonna be 200 and your variable cost is always around 100 or 150 US dollar, right? So
mhm,
your kind of expenses were going to be three 350 to 400 per month. So if your sales volume is like 500 US dollar per month, so that means you are profiting like 150, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
if if your sales volume in that month is just around like 300, so that means you're not profiting because
mhm,
um your fixed cost is always 250 and your variable cost is always 100. So we cannot control our expenditure if our fixed cost is that high because your sales volume can only cover your fixed cost and you cannot cover the variable cost. So that's why in the minimum situation, in the most desirable situation, so your sales target need to be higher than the total amount of that in one sense, but another way, your fixed cost is not should not be even higher than your variable cost in every month. So in that way, when your sales target are down, so your variable costs are also down in that month. So you
Mm-hmm.
stand a higher chance of getting a profit. But that's what I'm trying to do for business operation and how you control your business profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, I got it now. Thank you.
or for
It makes
example,
sense.
Lara, you
Mm-hmm.
can consider, you can choose the rental, the hours, hour, the workers. Just when they will work your hour, you just pay on the how much hour they work for us. We cannot pay them. We cannot pay them fixed days. You understand?
That's an example of a variable
Yes, yes,
cost.
you can control the operation risk. Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Wang teach us that called that the operational risk means that the fixed cost very high, higher than the variable cost. So we
Mm-hmm.
can make
Yeah,
the
that's the risk.
solution. Yes, we can make the solution. We can outsourcing or we can change the fixed cost to the variable cost. It's okay.
Okay. So there's a possibility that if the fixed cost is too high, you are able to change some of the fixed cost to variable.
Yes, yes, yes. And based on the sale or quantity, we can sell this or we can serve the customer. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
got it, got it.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes.
So the basic principle of that is like your variable costs are always down on us, dependent on your sales value. Okay,
Mhm.
if your sales values are up or even higher than last month, so your variable costs will be higher. And the same story when your sales value are down for this month, so your variable costs are down too. So
Mhm,
what can control is variable cost compared to fixed cost. We cannot do anything with that. So
Mhm.
if your business are down in business in profiting or sales returned, so you cannot do anything with the fixed cost, but variable cost you can control that. So that's the meaning of the contribution margin over here.
So what can you do if, your sales value is always what they call this, lower than your fixed cost?
At that
No, no.
time, you need
Yes.
to cut down your fixed costs. So what are the fixed costs in the business? Sometimes that's going to be your energy costs. Um,
Mm-mm.
energy is like electricity bills.
City.
Also, you human resources, or you have so many staff in your business,
Yes.
and you
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
have to pay that to pay them every month, and you need to cut down your size, your business
Rental,
size.
rental office fee.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
most in most situation, that's going to be cutting down your business size, meaning reducing the number of staffing in your business. Most
That's
of that.
how laying off starts. If
Mhm.
Oh, okay, okay, I got it now.
Yeah, so that's why we see a lot layoff
It is.
in let's just say we're in last month in a very big tech company, right?
In
There are
Vietnam,
huge waves of layoffs. Okay.
mm,
Mm.
Vietnam in the bank. Lara
Yeah.
right now, a lot of the
Oh,
people, yes, unemployed become employees right now
it's too
in the
bad.
bank. Yes, a lot.
Laura,
Mhm.
if you can recall, um, reducing the amount of staffing doesn't mean that you don't have enough human resources to
Mhm,
run your
mhm,
business. So instead of hiring a certain amount of staffing, you can outsource someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That happened a lot in the IT industry.
yes.
When they have very high level of technical expert like back end or front end employees, but um, they can easily seek out for someone else in Vietnam or in India for back end solution or something, which much cheaper cost for an
Mm.
outsourcing or something like that. So
Mhm,
that's where the fixed cost can be resolved if they are even higher than their sales return.
mhm, mhm,
One of the solutions for that. Second thing is just like we know, like because there are some many business are operating because they need office and facilities, so they can change that to working online. For example, like I said in the pandemic for in the COVID and pandemic, so a lot of business are changing from on-site working into working like online working or something. So
mhm,
uh,
mhm.
Yeah, to cover the rental costs or something, just like plan say.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I totally understand. Thank you so much. It's kind of clear actually because of all the examples.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Yes.
You can move the finance and the finance risk
Okay.
rearing next day. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to the financing. So financing is for equity contribution, or you can get a loan from financial institution. So what is the case when we need to seek out for financing? When we don't have enough resources to cover these three categories. So we don't have enough fund to buy machines over here. We don't have enough fund to run our business. Let's just say I don't have enough money to pay the salary to our staff. And also I don't have enough money to, you know, cover day-to-day activities, short-term finance for money. So I'm gonna stick for financing, which
Mm-hmm.
means I'm looking for a loan from a bank, or I can get a loan from someone else. So one of the risks going along with that is we don't know if we're not sure if we can make a repayment in time, or we can definitely have our resources to make a repayment. So that is the risks that a lot of startup or medium-sized companies are facing for now. From my personal perspective, um, a lot of businesses are falling into the loan and the borrowing trap because
Yes.
they're not sure about like how much of the loan, how much loan they should get in order to make sure that their business are going well enough. So one of the result of failure to make a repayment. So in our country, we have like five groups of debtors. Um, so most of the business are falling into the first group, which is a qualified debt, which is you're the debtor and your debt is safe enough, which is the definition of qualified debt in group one. But when you fail to make a payment or like make a payment in time, so you're going to group two for a debt needing attention. And the further situation falls into the debtor that fails to make a payment for a certain level of debt. So for each group of debtor, when you fall into a worse situation, so you're going to lose your um, chance or opportunities to make another loan. So that's why a lot of people and a lot of business are so waffle on choosing their debt or their borrowing service in a way that it can confirm that their profit and also their available resources for money are enough to cover the debt and make a repayment. And if you fail to make a repayment, so they stand a chance of going bankruptcy. So a lot of businesses are so waffle on the way that they map out their plan or the sales plan, how much of a profit they make in order to make safe repayment and build their image with the bank and also their customers. Of course, if you don't have enough fund to make your payment to your customers, they definitely stop your business, start business with you, providing goods or inventories, materials to run the business. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very complex problem when we talk about financing because it make an impact on every single corners of other cash flows, just something like this. So a big reminder of that is just um, we need to be very careful on how we choose your service for borrowing and make a repayment. Yeah, so that is the end. As of all the cash flow and also risk management going along with that.
Mhm.
Budgeting in our presentation is not so even high because when we talk about budgeting, we need further in-depth knowledge about financial management, and it fall greater into the first flow of cash and the third flow of cash. So budgeting is very critical and very technical in a way that a business are running their financial and budgeting management. But
Mhm.
I think that's just from the scope of our class because we're all non-financiers, so we don't need to go deeper into that kind of topic. But we just know that risk management and budgeting are also always going along with each other. Yeah, that's all the information for today. Mm.
Yeah, so far it's clear, but I think I just need to listen to the recording again about the financing part. The last part is a little bit confusing, but I think somehow I can follow.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
financing just the for example the loan. You
Hmm.
remember? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yes, I remember.
The debt.
Yes, of course.
Yes, yes. So I
so
think
in for loan, when a bank work with a corporate, they often get their loan for working capital over here
mhm,
and
mhm,
also capital expenditure. Let's just say in my example of a bookseller, um, when you sell a book when you need to buy 10 books at hand but you don't have cash, so you need to borrow that from the bank, right?
Yes.
So when you borrow that, you need to have time for repayment. Let's just say the bank told you that you need to pay me after 1 year or something. But after 1 year, I cannot sell these 10 books. So what should I do, right? In our
I don't know.
story, because when I buy, for example, if I bought 10 books from you,
Mm-hmm.
cost with with a total purchase of $100, and I expect that I'm going to sell these 10 books to someone else, totaling of $150, and I'm profiting $50, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have cash at hand for now, so I need to borrow that from the bank, a hundred
mhm.
US dollar, so I can buy that from you, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine. But and the bank told me like I need to pay 100 US dollar in 1 year, right? But
Mm-hmm.
after 1 year, I cannot sell these 10 books to anyone. So I'm still owing you 100 US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, after 1 year, I cannot sell these 10 books, and also I owe you 100 US dollar. So in that case, I need an alternative plan for
Mm-hmm.
borrowing if I cannot make sure that I can't sell these 10 books, right? So that's why I'm telling you the sales plans are very critical in any circumstances where we map out the loan or we map out any budgeting plan for the whole picture of the business. All clear?
Yes, yes, all clear.
Okay.
Yes, I
So
got it.
okay, today it may be very complicated and technique, but in my knowledge, in my experience, I think it's very simple. Just but Lara may become very complicated. Okay, so Lara can listen again the record and the
Yeah.
file. It's
Oh,
okay.
so far actually, it's actually clear because
Mm-hmm. Oh,
of the example that Mr. Wang gave.
oh, okay.
Yes.
Very happy to hear that.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we can relax and enjoy the holiday in Vietnam. Yeah.
Yes, it's holiday actually. So there will be no class on what day again?
Yes, and the weekend on the weekend holidays to yeah,
Okay.
yes, yeah, in Vietnam.
I
So
see, I see.
yeah. Okay, so good night, Lara.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Wong, and have a good night. Thank
Have a good
you.
night too.
Yes, bye.
Bye. See you.
Thank you anh
Bye.
Hoàng, thank you chị Hoàng. Thank you
Hello,
everyone.
Linh. Hoàng Hoàng
Cảm ơn
Hoàng
nhiều.
Hoàng mệt không?
Em bình thường thì
Ủa về giấc này ở quán cà phê hả?
vâng, ui dồi, mà em còn có 1% pin.
Ủa thì giờ đi
Rồi
Hoàng
em
ơi,
phải
về
về
sớm đi
đây.
em mua tuyệt quá. Ôi bye bye em nha. Trời ơi, thú vị
Vâng,
quá.
chào mọi người nha.